I got this book used for just something like $8. It's a very small book with just 20 games, but the idea is the guess the move. Practically, at a certain point, you have to put yourself in the place of one of the two players, white or black, and start to find the move. Depending how good you are, here there is a score that is given by Grandmaster King. If you are able to score from 61 to 70, you are a Grandmaster, 51-60 International Master, and of course 21-30 club player. Okay. The book has only 20 games. I would like to start to show you this game, Spassky versus Koch. Spassky is white, Koch is black. This was at the French Championship in 1992. Now, the games in this book are old because the book is from 1993. Okay, so it's not new. And here there is an introduction that says even at the height of his career, Boris Spassky never had a very strong theoretical punch. His strength lay in his attacking ability, his consummate understanding of a middle game, and excellent technique when finishing off an opponent. Perhaps I shouldn't be writing in the past tense. Spassky still displays the same characteristics, but his lack of ambition had distorted them. Understanding a technique dominate, and he normally prefers to steer the play into calmer water rather than speculate on an attack. Now the thing is that obviously this was 1992. Spassky, I don't know, maybe just finished. So I was saying Spassky, this is 1992. Spassky just finished probably the match with Fischer. So is it still good in a sense? Today, 2024, I don't think Spassky is playing because unfortunately, I think the last picture I saw it was him in a wheelchair, a typical old guy in a retiring home, unfortunately. The pieces we are watching the game today are Soviet pieces, okay? I'm starting a collection. So white is Spassky, d4, knight f6, c4, c5. So this already tell you it could be a Benoni, it could be a Benko, d5, b5. So how is this working? At a certain point, around move 14, it tells you that you need to start to predict white moves, okay? And so you will have to write down if your prediction is correct or not. Okay, so after b5, c takes b5, so this is a Benko gambit, a6, and the Benko gambit accepted. B takes a6, g6, because obviously you have this here, so you need to develop on the big diagonal. Knight c3, bishop takes a6, e4, bishop takes f1, king takes f1, d6, g3, bishop g7. Look how beautiful is this maneuver. King g2. This is a way to castle. I don't remember who invented that maneuver. I don't think it was Spassky, however. Castle. Knight f3. Now the rook can go into the center because the idea is to push. Knight b d7, h3, queen b6, rook e1, and now there is rook f b8. At this point, King tell you, now start predicting White's move. So what you should do is, you pause the video and you think as long as you want, and then I will move and tell you what is the score. So White continue with Rook e2, and he says 3 points. Spassky's choice of variation is already an indication that he wants to play very steadily. Prophylaxis rather than counter-attack is the order of the day. 20 years ago, this system was one of the most popular methods of meeting the Benko. It lost favor because white players did not enjoy the long defensive task involved, having to be constantly alert to black's tricks. Even if they managed to emerge from the middle game unscathed because of black's queenside pressure, the ending would more often than not be drawn. So Rook e2, he says, is a very sensible move, overprotecting the most sensitive spot in white formation, that is the pawn b2. Now, what if instead of this you thought, I want to play this move, Queen c2, 3 points also for this, is also well motivated, while e5 is only 1 point because it's premature. Why is premature? Because after trading on e5, d takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5. Now there is the move queen b7, and white is very tied up because obviously this is here on the diagonal and will fall probably. This needs to move, this will fall too. So it's a mess, you understand? It's a mess for white. So e5 was only 1 point, while rook e2 3 points and queen c2 3 points, okay? Okay, so I think I put back the position to what it was. White played rook e2, and now black continue with queen a6, and now again you need to guess what white will play. Obviously, if you know the theory of a Benko gambit, the next move is also quite known, to tell you the truth, because I have played this kind of game, I think, or similar, thanks to opening preparation against a candidate master, and I beat him. And my preparation was based on Chess Base, one of the DVDs of Chess Base, 60 minutes that prepare you against the Benko gambit, because I knew that he would play the Benko gambit, so that's why. Okay, so you get 2 points if you guess queen c2, okay? 2 points, another solid move, giving more support to c3 and b2. Also 2 points if you played rook c2, okay? For the time being, white must tread warily. Instead, if you played bishop f4, that can lead to disaster thanks to knight h5. Okay? Here I don't give you all the line because I want to finish the game within 20 minutes video, 25 minutes video, okay? But if instead of bishop f4 you thought to play queen e1, this is also an interesting idea, but it gives you only 1 point, okay? Only 1 point. So queen c2 is the move played and is 2 points. The game continues with knight b6, and now you need to decide what you would play as white. Sorry if I touch the pawn. Of course, there is the touch move rule. Okay, if you guess e4, you got 3 points, okay? because the positional idea of black is to play this. Okay, so white immediately occupy that square. Okay, so what happens in case that you thought, well, but I don't want to play a4 because you didn't think that a4 was the move, and you played b3 instead? Well, also for b3 you get 1 point, because this is the most obvious way of dealing with a threat. And then of course the idea is bishop b2 to complete the development. However, there is a typical problem, okay, of b3. Let's see if you guys see it. Now you're not going to get any points. I'm sorry. But the problem of b3 is the typical Benko combination, which is knight f takes d5, right? If you take on d5, it takes on a1, so you have to take with the e pawn, right? But then what happens is that there is, boom, bishop takes e3, and you say, well, who cares, right? Well, it depends, because after you take here, guess what? Your rook on e2 is gone. Okay, so you must be careful, because also here it seems that you have compensation, right? Because you play this, let's see, and pro rook e1. Okay, but also in this case it's not over. Knight takes d5, rook takes e2, knight takes e3, and bishop takes e3. And here Grandmaster King says that also if a material balance seems better for or even, no? He says black has a better chances because of his central pawn mass. Okay, so I don't know, honestly. You gotta play it probably and see if you are able to win as black. It's as you can see, it was a very long variation to learn and study, and maybe if you didn't think it through, you would have a problem in a tournament game, right? But at least now you got exposed to it. So let me return back to the position. So, you know guys, I think I was able to put the position back without even watching the diagram, because strangely all the pieces make sense in this position. They are in places that make sense. And so a4 is the move that makes sense more than b3. But honestly, b3 seems good if you don't calculate this type of stuff. So, okay, a4, it was 3 points, okay? Now we continue with knight f d7, is opening the line, right? And now you need to find out how white continues in this position. Okay, so if you thought knight b5 was the correct move, you get only 1 point. Okay, but there are some complications, and here obviously King covers them. Then if you thought that the move was bishop g5, you get 0 point, 0, 0, 0, no? Again, the reason is that leaves the queen side too weak. And the move that gives you 3 points is rook a2. So if you played rook a2, you got 3 points, because it's a logical move, removing the rook from the long diagonal. We have already seen that white can easily fall prey to tactics based on the latent power of a black bishop on g7, okay? Now, black continue with knight c4, and King says, I think this move is a clear mistake. Black's best chance was to capture the pawn as mentioned above. So the idea here was take on c3, take on c3, and take on a4. That's why, okay? That's what he thinks. The only way for white to try for the advantage is to open the king side. So he says that after this, tack, 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 you push, and that should give white an advantage. In the hope that the bishop will be able to infiltrate. 3 points if this was your intention, okay? If white hesitates, then black will keep the position close with f6, okay? So after knight c4, what are you going to play as white? If you played b3, it's 2 points. Following Spassky's careful preparation, this move is now possible. There is something very appealing about the move. It connects the heavy pieces. It wasn't too late to blunder away your position with the tempting knight b5. If you had thought of this move, you have to detract 5 points, okay? 5. You have to take away 5 points if you thought white would play this. Why? Because after rook takes b5, obviously, if you do a takes b5, you lost that rook, which means you lost a knight, okay? So knight b5 is minus 5 points, rook a2 is, b3 is the move that would give you 2 points, okay? So you needed to do that because it connects them. Then you can actually try to play, okay? So knight ce5. Boom. Knight takes. What do you play now? If you play knight takes e5, it's 1 point. Knight takes e5, and now you needed to try to find out what is white next move. Okay, if you found out that is knight b5, you have gained 4 points. 4 points, okay? Here it says, right on time, the knight blocks out black's queen and both rooks. Not bad going. If white hesitates for a moment, then c4 or knight d3 might follow with annoying counterplay. So no points for our moves. Note that this move is only possible because the rook has moved to a square where it is protected, okay? So that's the reason that we saw detracting 5 points before, right? Because of that. Okay, let's move on. And sorry, I want to put the phone on silent. Very good. So knight b5. And now black continue with c4. A good attempt to stir up trouble. Be careful. Now, what would you play in this position as white? If you played bishop f4, you got 4 points. The simplest, intending to trade off black's most active black's most active piece. There were several plausible alternatives, some better than others. For example, knight c7, no points because of queen a7. And when you take here, there is c takes b3 forking. Okay, it's a mess. Here there is a long line. Now, If instead you played b takes c4, 1 point, because rook c8, and after rook takes c4, a pawn will probably fall as well. If you played b4, 2 points. Keep the position close, but again, the problem is rook c8 after b4, okay? So this is a kind of a move that keeps the isolated pawn that you will push to become a kind of a problem for white. And then there is a beautiful move that you could have played here instead of bishop f4, okay, that was 4 points. The move is f4. This is also 4 points if you played this move, okay? It's the best because after c takes b3, queen takes b3, knight d7, bishop a3 leaves white with a dominating position. Obviously the problem is that once you play f4, your king is kind of exposed, while bishop f4 is not exposed at all, it's still a little more protected, okay? So that's why. Maybe Spassky preferred this move. Rook c8, and now you need to find again what is white's best move. White, Spassky, played bishop takes e5, and this is 2 points, okay? 2 points. Obviously, normally it would be wrong to exchange the bishop for the knight, but as you can see, in the previous moves, white has removed all the pieces from the dark squares. So removing all the pieces from the dark squares means that you don't have a problem with this. This is a weak bishop in a sense, a bad bishop, because there is nothing to attack, and that's probably the reason, okay? Okay, so let's see if he says anything else. No. Now, okay, so after bishop takes a5, there is c takes b3. Obviously, your continuation is queen takes b3, and so you get 1 point for this. Bishop takes e5, and now there is, you need to find a white move, right? White move is rook e c2. 2 points. If you found this move, it's 2 points, okay? The position is clearly technically winning for white, but that does not mean that it is easy to win or to win it. If you were tempted by f4, you get 0 point. I'm sorry. So if you thought f4 was the move, 0 point, okay? While if you thought rook e c2, 2 points. Rook takes c2, queen takes c2. It gives you 1 point for queen takes c2. Why? Because maybe you could have thought to take with a rook. I don't think so, because then this goes bad, right? So I don't know. It shouldn't give you any point, but probably it's very magnanimous. And after that he played, so rook c8, boom. And then there is, you need to find again what white would play. So white played queen e2, okay? And this is 2 points. But he also give you 2 points if you play the queen b3. But he asks you a question. If black played rook c5, what would you do? How would you continue? No, that's the important thing here. How would you continue? Okay, let's see, let's go back, and instead of queen, it goes in e2. Now, black continue with queen a5. And what would you play if you were white? White played rook c2, and this is 2 points, okay? It says simple and effective. With every exchange, white is a step nearer his goal. Now black's queen is tied down to stopping the a pawn. Rook takes c2 and queen takes c2. And it gives you 1 point for queen takes c2. I'm sorry, it was kind of logical, however. But the point that he's trying to make is this. This is 9, right, as a value. This is 1, so this queen is trying to block a 1, and so that's a lot, right? Okay, so after queen c2 there is queen e1, and now you need to find a great move for white. What would you play if you were white? Okay? Obviously, in order to find the move at this point, you need to ask yourself, what do you want? You understand that here the position is symmetrical, right? So you don't really have a breakthrough. While here you have a pawn that needs to be pushed. But you cannot push it, otherwise it will take it, right? So what do you play to make that push possible? Okay? And the move was knight a7. 5 points. You get 5 points if you found this move, okay? In case instead you played knight a3, you get only 1 point, okay? Because the idea obviously is knight c4, but this allows this bishop to become more active and play bishop d4, controlling the diagonal and attacking there, okay? So that's why the move, sorry, the knight was here, the move knight a7 is so good, because after it can probably go here, right? And then that's a done deal. Okay, let's see what happens. So bishop c3, and what would you play now? I think we both already said it. What is the reason for this move to go here? So this is 2 points. It should have been fairly obvious where this one was heading. This is a wonderful square. The knight forces both queen and bishop to keep an eye on the a pawn. It prevents the bishop from moving to d4, and it hits a sensitive point near the black king. Okay, so yes, it's a beautiful square in fact. King f8. What would you do now if you were white? Try to guess what would you do if you were white. White played queen d3, and this is 2 points. The threat obviously is queen e3, forcing an exchange of queens. And so black has to confront this thing. He must prevent it, right? How do you prevent it? With bishop d2. Now, if you are white, what would you play at this point? Spassky played queen d4, and this is 3 points, okay? All Spassky needs to do is get his queen in near the black king, and the game will be over. This move forces a slight weakness in black's position, f6. So what do you play now if you are white? This, in my opinion, is an example of what we call the 2 weaknesses. The first weakness is this side, right? But you cannot win because you cannot really make it go through. without risking some counterplay. So once you have created the fourth weakness and the opponent must use resources to stop it, then what you do is to create a second weakness. And here we have a second weakness, right? So how do you make this weaker? Okay, obviously the move is h4, and this is 2 points. But if you thought that the right move was queen a7, you have to take away 2 points, because black would play queen takes e4. So be careful. -2 for queen a7, +2 for h4. Obviously black stops immediately with h5, but again you begin a maneuver, right? What do you play as white? White played queen d3. Okay, this is a 3 points and is the start of a decisive maneuver. Take 2 if you want to play this on the last move. Okay, so if you want to play queen d3 before, just 2 points. King f7, and now what do you play as white? White played queen f3, and this is 2 points, okay? Black continue with queen a1, and once more find out. Sorry if I continue to tell you to find out, but that's the way, right? It's a guess the move. It's a very interesting way, I think. So, what is the next move played by white? White played g4, and this is a 3 points, okay? In case you saw this move 2 moves ago, when you were maneuvering the queen to try to enter and then you did that maneuver, this is not 3 points but 5, okay? So you can have 5 instead of 3. Now queen takes a4, g takes h5, 1 point, g takes h5, queen takes h5, another point, king g7, and queen g4, check, 1 point. If you played knight takes e7, that was a mistake. It says off with your head. Will anyone admit to playing knight takes e7 off with your head? Okay, go. So king f8, and here there is the last move of the game. What would you play if you were white? Spassky played queen e6, 2 points. And here it says the knight even prevents the queen from returning to defend the pawn, and black resign. Superb technique from Spassky. His opponent didn't have a hint of counterplay. I hope you had a lot of fun doing this game. I hope you wrote down all the score. Just remember, if you are 61 to 70, you are a Grandmaster, so eventually ask a certificate to FIDE. If you are 51 to 60, you are an International Master, again, ask a certificate to FIDE. If you had 41 to 50 FIDE or National Master, 31 to 40 a country player, and 21 to 30 club player, 11 to 20 occasional player, and if you are from 0 to 10, I'm sorry, you got to study harder or watch all my videos twice and you will definitely become better. I wish you a good evening or good day, depending when you played this thing. And this is a nice book. I will make more games in this format because I like it very much. I hope you enjoy it too. Thank you very much.